my name is Emily, and this is my Power BI project about suicide data. In 2018, I was a senior in high school. My mom texted me out of the blue and she said, "Emily, I love you so much." I don't know why, but in that moment, my stomach clenched and I knew that there was something wrong. I responded, "I love you too, Mom, but what's wrong?" She replied, "Nothing. I'll talk to you when I get home." For the rest of the day, I wondered what was going on. And when I got home, my dad greeted my sister and I. We said, "Dad, what's wrong? Where is Mom?" With tears in his eyes, he said, "Your mother is at the hospital with the reeds. Ryan tried to kill himself." There was a moment of shock and silence as my sister and I processed this news. Is Ryan going to be okay? My dad said that the doctors didn't know, but that things were not looking good. After 5 days in the hospital, Ryan was taken off life support and he passed away just days before his 15th birthday. Ryan was a close family friend who I had seen grown up, and since this day, I have worked with Ryan's father to help educate and save lives from suicide. This image here is a picture from the movie Tell My Story that I helped his dad produce, and this is also a picture of Ryan. So, as I was scrolling through Kaggle to figure out what data set I wanted to do, I found the World Health Organization suicide statistics, and I knew I had found my data project. In the United States, suicide rates have increased 35.2% from 1999 to 2019 for the total population, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. The United States is not alone with these trends. Other countries have also seen this increase. So some questions we want to answer throughout this project are: what age and gender are most at risk for suicide? Does GDP per capita have any influence in suicide rates? And what are some overall suicide trends over time for these different countries? First, we're going to look at my dashboard that I created with Power BI. Okay, so here's the dashboard that I created. And the first thing I wanted to look at is this map that shows all of the different countries that are represented in this data set. The size of the circle represents how many suicides they have in that country. And you can also see the country name. So we have a lot of countries that are included in this data set. The next thing I want to draw your attention to is this line graph that shows trends over time for Canada, Mexico, the United Kingdom, as well as the United States. So our data starts in 1985 and goes till 2016. As you can see, the trends are going from a high point of suicides per 100,000 people to a lower dip around 1999, and then they continue to increase since then for pretty much every country. Next, we're going to look at this bar chart, which shows the top 10 countries with the highest average of suicides per 100,000 people. The Russian Federation is the highest and Sri Lanka is the lowest in the top 10. Next, we're going to look at the reports that I created for this data. So here's the navigation page that I created. First, we're going to look at the GDP report. So here we can see that we're looking at 4 different countries: the Russian Federation, the United States, Belgium, as well as Mexico. Here's a map to show those, as well as their suicides per 100,000 people. Over here, we're looking at suicides per 100,000 people versus GDP per capita over time. So here we can see the different rates and how those numbers change over time. And then here is a combination of all of these countries and their rates put together. So here the blue line shows the GDP per capita, and we can see as that increases, we do see a decline in suicide rates. This is true maybe for these countries, and we can definitely see that there could be a correlation, but it might also not be true for every single country. Here we have a table that shows this data just for a nice summary. Now we're going to look at the sex and age report. First, we're going to look at this bar chart. As you can see, it's grouped by age brackets and suicides per 100,000 people, as well as suicide numbers total. Let's take a look at the United States. So for the United States, our highest years for the suicides per 100,000 people is for the 75 plus age range, but the people that we've lost most to suicide in terms of gross numbers are 35 to 54 years old. We can also see that males make up the vast majority of people lost to suicide compared to females. That's also shown here in this table. Here we can see it visually in this chart as well as in this table again. Next, we're going to look at the key influencers. So here we can see that what influences suicides per 100,000 people to decrease. So here we can see that if the sex is female, if their ages 5 to 14, if they're part of Gen Z, which matches up with that age range, millennials, ages 15 to 24, as well as Gen X, are all in this area of having a lower risk of dying by suicide. We can also look at these segments this way. So here we're looking at ages 5 to 14, and the sex is female, and we can see that this average is 0.46, and this is 12.35 units lower than the overall average that's at 12.82. So that's the key influencers report. All right, so that is it for my presentation. Here are my references. Thank you so much for watching.